Okay, for the Cold War, we're going to have two presentations. One you're responsible as an individual, the other one is part of an overall group project. So as you know, for each unit, we've been using numbers to identify terms, events, names, and each student is assigned a topic based on the headings the students signed up for in the beginning of the year. So when you see your name on the class sheet, if your name is Bob and you have a 1, if your name is Tyrone and you have a 6, this is what you are responsible for. Keep in mind these presentations are 3 minutes in length, and you have to follow the guidelines from the directions using the presentation guide sheet. So the presentation guide sheet, you can go to presentations. If this is not distributed prior to, and you can look at any of the items that are here following all of these directions here. So if you want to do a dance, if you want to do a comic strip, you want to do some sort of t-shirt, political candidate, any of these items count. And here's the rubric for that particular presentation. You are scored as an individual, so make sure you're following the directions for this. The presentations that are for the unit are actually part of the 50s and 60s. So we will begin with the Cold War. And since the Cold War is definitely at a peak in the 50s, 60s, you cannot look at the 50s and 60s without looking at the Cold War. So here's where we're going to have some of the information here. So anyway, for those presentations, for the most part, there are 10 to 11 topics. 1968, you have atomic energy, I don't know, you have Cold War, you have the Lyndon Johnson JFK presidency. So you have that as a topic. And you are going to work with students on this particular assignment. However, you will not be graded as a group. So here's how this is going to work. Each team is going to receive a one-sheet direction that has a basic intro. Everybody pretty much has the same information as far as requirements are concerned, and it's just here where you have specific information that needs to be addressed for the presentation. So for this presentation, 1968, it looks like we have 3 people part of this group. So on the first page, you see just general directions about what you're going to do, questions you need to answer. And then on the back, you see the rubric. And here is the rubric. So when I'm scoring this, I'm going to look for presenter 1. I want to make sure that they, define the movement in some way. They address this question and the items that are presented here. I only deduct points when these items are not present. So for example, if presenter 2 never addresses this question, then it will result in a deduction. You also want to make sure you're following the guidelines here. And then you also want to focus on moving beyond the stated direction. So what this pretty much means is, these topics that are selected, there is some unique information that you need to address. And if you successfully research these topics, you should be able to come away with something unique. Do not just rely on, presenting slides. You need to figure out a way to go above and beyond the directions. A couple of items I want to mention here for 1968 and all of the topics. There are 3 presenters. Sometimes a group will only have 2 people in a group just based on numbers. So if that is the case, let's say there's 2 people assigned to this. We have Janet and we have Shaniqua. They need to figure out, so Shaniqua could be presenter 1 and then presenter 3 could be Janet. And then on the presentation day, they simply would kind of sort that item out. I might say, okay, presenter 1, go up, and then, I'll start there. I might say with presenter 3. So take note of that. Just because your group has 5 assigned presenters, if you have 4, you are not required. So in my example, presenter 2 never gets addressed. It just doesn't happen because of the numbers. And that's it, pretty much. You want to figure out a way to go above the guidelines. You look up here, -8 for missing any lined item, 5 for inaccurate info, and -10 for reading off of a card or a PowerPoint. So that's kind of what you need to think about as you're preparing. We've done presentations in the past, so the expectation is already um, available. We're midway into the year, so you should have an idea of what I expect. For the atomic energy, we see it looks like 6 people. No, we have 5. So we have, be prepared to answer any question that I will have, get a question wrong, and I might deduct a point or two. So we have 5 presenters for atomic energy. And here are the individual requirements. I'll be looking at your strengths and your weaknesses. Suburban growth, looks like there's 3 people in this group, 1, 2, 3. And like I said, for the most part, I'll be looking at specific information that is part of like the impact of television. And all of these topics, I'll be able to link them at some particular point. So these are the unit directions, and do not mix them up, or the group unit. So we have the presentation, which is the unit 1, which is what we've been doing since the beginning of the year, each student being assigned, one topic from 1 to 30. And then we have the 50s, 60s group projects. And that's what this is right here. So for the most part, you'll be working with a partner on this. That doesn't mean your grade is dependent on their grade. Let's say presenter 1, whatever they present, they present. The only thing you really need to do when you're working with your partner is just figure out which presenter you're going to be. Outside of that, there really isn't much that you need to do. I am not looking for, a link between this one and that one. I'm not looking for that. You will be graded as an individual. Gay rights, conformity of the silent generation. You want to follow the guidelines here. For example, if we're looking at this one here, the expectation is you create this chart. And with this chart, you want to look at the years of these generations, the events that describe, and what are people saying about these generations. And notice also I have specific requirements referencing this item here, where you're going to have to look that up. So each presentation topic is unique. We have hackers, terrorism, golden age of cars, abortion and women. So like I said, about 2 to 4 students will be assigned one of these particular topics, and that will be after the Cold War unit, this particular assignment. Good luck.